guys, welcome to our channel whereby we will be discussing matters to do with education and matters affecting citizens at large. Today I want us to discuss about CBE, which was initially called CBC, or competence-based education. How best do you understand CBE? First, do you know the structure of CBE? Its structure is 26333. What do I mean by 26333? I mean 2 years in pre-primary, 6 years in primary education, 3 years in junior secondary, what we call JS, then 3 years in senior secondary, and other 3 years in university or tertiary education. And CBC or CBE has its advantages and also its disadvantages. First of all, we had a curriculum back then called 844. When we compare CBE and 844, we can see the difference. For example, in 844, the learning was teacher-centered more than learner-centered. You would find that a teacher teaches and your work as a learner is only to grasp what the teacher has told you and wait for the exams. This is not the case in CBE. CBE is learner-centered. The learner is given a chance to express themselves. The learner is given a chance to develop their talents. The learner is given a chance to showcase their skills. In 844, we used to just read and wait for exams. For example, the last exams, the KCSE, the KCPE, and you are expected to write whatever the teacher told you. But in CBE, we have continuous assessments which help the learner to identify even their pathways early, and also to develop whatever they are best at, which was not the case in 844. Another difference, parental role. In 844, parents were never involved, or even when they were involved, it was at a minimal degree. They were never involved in the life or the study life of a learner. In CBE, we have activities whereby parents work them out with the learners, and that is a plus. Another difference between 844 and CBE, flexibility. CBE is very flexible. That is why sometimes you see learners learning in workshops. They are in the community doing activities. They're in the gardens, practically doing their learning there. Unlike 844, whereby it was only the learner and the book. There was no flexibility. It was just to cram and make sure you grasp all that content, because after all, you are never even sure what question you will come across in your examination. Focus. CBE focuses on skills and competencies, but 844 focused on content and exams. And that is a clear difference between CBE and 844. Let us also mention about the advantages of CBE. If I call it CBC, you will still understand because it is only the same thing. So here are some of the advantages of CBE. It identifies and nurtures the talent of a learner. Once the learner has a talent in something, it gets identified at a young age, and it is able to be nurtured smoothly until in future, even they apply the same skill and talent in the job market. It encourages practical skills and creativity. I know you have interacted with the CBE learners and they are very creative. They are even making cars using papers. They're even making a lot of things because they have been given that opportunity to be creative and also to do practicals. Another advantage, it reduces exam pressure. Those who have seen the exams CBE learners are doing, you are able to tell this as a matter of fact. There's no pressure like in 844 whereby you are supposed to write. If you get below 30, you would be caned, or even you are to be to come with your parents to explain why you are failing in a certain learning area. But now in CBE, there's no exam pressure. The learner applies or writes whatever is already in them. So that is another advantage. It prepares learners for real life situations. Learners are able to learn critical skills like decision making, creative thinking, creativity, and also unity. And that builds them for real life situations, and they are able to solve their problems in future and also make good decisions when it comes to real life experiences. Learners are able to think critically and solve problems. For example, in areas whereby there's no rains or climate change has affected them, you have seen your learners planting even in gunias and doing a lot of things. So they are able to use the available resources to solve a problem in the society. We also have disadvantages. We know that it can't be perfect, and no curriculum which is better than the other. So it also has its own disadvantages. Some of the disadvantages of CBE includes high costs for the parents. Some parents are not able to provide the resources needed, for example, for practical lessons, and therefore it is getting to be a challenge to them to cater for that cost of education of their learners. So high cost of education is a challenge, is heavy workload for teachers. When I talk about workload for teachers, is whereby in CBE, a teacher is supposed to man or to monitor each learner individually, know the weakness of this learner, know where they're supposed to chip in, and sometimes it's very hectic because monitoring each learner, it's too much. You can find a class with 60 learners and you are supposed to know the weakness of each learner, and you are supposed to help them at a personal level to discover what they are best at. So that workload gets too much for the teachers. Another disadvantage is inadequate facilities in many schools. Most of the schools, for example, in the rural areas, they don't have the resources. When we talk about, for example, in junior schools, some don't even have the labs. Some don't even know how some of the equipment mentioned in their books looks like. And so it becomes a challenge. There's not enough equipment, not enough resources in most of the schools. You are supposed to do a practical using a microscope, and that school does not even have a mirror. So how will the learners cope with that? So it becomes a challenge, and since there's not enough resources in most of the schools, it becomes so hard. We also have another challenge, which is, I can say it's affecting most of the population in Kenya. Slow adaptation of both learners, parents, and also teachers. they have not really come to term that CBE is here with us and they have to change as soon as possible. Most teachers are using the 844 teaching methods. Most learners have also not adapted to these CBE learning methods. And also the parents, most of them are not informed of what this curriculum wants. So it becomes a challenge whereby they have taken so long to adapt. One, due to lack of information. Two, due to lack of resources. And also, they have not seen the fruits of the same. So slow adaptation for both teachers, learners, and the parents is a great challenge in CBE. Thank you guys for listening. Let's stick here and wait for more informative videos about the same. Remember to subscribe and like our videos. Comment down below on the issue you want to be addressed, and we got you.